Sir, live streaming is on.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay. So, Dr. Singh, I think we are at 4 p.m.
Yes.
So, I will start then, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So, I welcome one and all, both through the Zoom and the YouTube live link to this edition of the Asset Colloquium, which is in online mode today. Our asset host, Dr. Satyanarayana, is actually away from TIFR today. In fact, he's on a flight right now. We actually miss him because he does such a wonderful job of organizing this series. It's one of the most popular series. The asset, what it means is essentially it's an acronym for Advances in Science, Engineering and Technology. We deeply miss Satya today, but he'll be back next week to organize this again, this series again. So today I'm Jyotishman Dasgupta from the Chemical Sciences Department. It's a pleasure to welcome Dr. Rajinder Singh from the University of Oldenburg, Germany. Dr. Singh actually has kindly agreed to sort of give an overview of, Indian physicists, those who are, of course, famously known, as well as those who are lesser known. So today we will cover lesser known, but equally important Indian physicists, B.B. Ray and S.K. Mitra. Just to give a little bit of a background for the speaker, Dr. Rajinder Singh did his bachelor's and B.Ed, Bachelor's of Science and Bachelor of Education from Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, and thereafter taught in a school in Jalandhar. On proceeding to Germany, he did his Diplom Physik, 5 years degree course at the University of Oldenburg and wrote a thesis on characteristics of solar radiation, photovoltaic pyranometers, Likor 200 SZ and Matrix 1G. He obtained his DSc from the University of Hamburg on his thesis titled Nobel laureate C.V. Raman's work on light scattering, which was published in 2004. Currently, he continues to teach physics to school students and does research on the history of science in research group. In the research group Physics, Education and Science Communication, which is part of the Physics Institute at University of Oldenburg. His domain of research pertains to Indian scientists, and their interaction with Western scientists, Nobel Prizes, and science education. Dr. Singh has authored 41 books and has written more than 150 articles in international journals. This lecture by Dr. Singh is, it's part of the series as we call as Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, to commemorate essentially achievements of India over last 75 years of independence. Dr. Singh, without any further ado, please, I welcome you to the Asset Colloquium series, and you can start your lecture.
Okay, thank you very much for the introduction. Before I start with the real lecture, I would like to go back to my earlier research. It is more for the younger generation. The reason being, before I started my PhD thesis, to get the document, I went to Bangalore. I was told by one gentleman, "Did you read the book from G. Victor Raman?" It is written wonderful. There is nothing new to add in C.V. Raman's life after this book. I was a little bit annoyed, and I said to that gentleman, there is more literature on Shakespeare than Shakespeare wrote himself. There is always possibility to write something. There is no limit. After writing my thesis, then I published another book on C.V. Raman, and then I wrote 3 small books on C.V. Raman and his interaction with the media to show that it is the duty of a scientist. He can always interact. The scientists often say, oh, the local journal, their newspaper, they do not want to publish anything. But C.V. Raman's case show it is possible. It is the duty of the scientist to communicate with the media. Then next, this is one of the field Nobel Prizes. The book written, they are based on the original document from the Nobel Committee and Nobel Foundation. Then another topic which interested me, it is again based on the authentic letter between Albert Einstein and Indian scientist. And about this we will talk later. Then in general, Indian scientists, they publish in foreign journal. They have their own reasons. And I decided to publish in Indian journals like Indian Journal of History of Science, Current Science, Science and Culture. Due to these things, my work came to known in Indian circle. And here you see some of the prominent persons who wrote forward. And also I decided to write not only on C.V. Raman, but also students like S.C. Sarkar and K. Banerjee. These are the 2 recent books published this year. And sometimes history writing can be interesting, but it can also make you famous. For example, here we have the book on Biwa Chaudhary. After the publication of the book, people came to know that she was the first women employee at the TIFR, and TIFR published the extended version of the first book. And also, meanwhile, a star is named after this woman. And Government of India also created one physics chair after her name. Another interesting story is about Purnima Sinha, who did her PhD under S.N. Bose. She was the first woman to do her PhD from the Department of Physics from the University of Calcutta. And another book is on Suman Bala Beri, the first woman to become professor at the Punjab University. And the foreword of this book is written by Professor Chandrama Shah, the first woman to become the president of the Indian National Science Academy. Now I come to my real topic, C.V. Raman and his 2 students. Here we see Mitra, Yadubhushan Ray with C.V. Raman, and here Meghnad Saha, S.N. Bose, and D.M. Bose. So the lecture is based on these 2 books and some articles. So here we see S.K. Mitra. He came from a middle-class family. His father actually expired when Mitra was just finishing his early education. He did his MSc from the Presidency College. Then he was for some time lecturer in 2 different colleges. The new college was founded here as Science and Technology in 1916, and he was one of the first persons to be elected as faculty members. And after some time doing research, he went abroad, and returning back, he became Khaira professor. And afterward, he was Ghosh professor at the University of Calcutta, and this he remained till 1995. After retirement, he was administrator of the Board of Secondary Education in West Bengal. So here are some of the honors that he got from the British Empire as well as Government of India. And in my lecture, I will concentrate about the fellowship of the Royal Society of London, how he became fellow. Now, about his research career. He began research under J.C. Bose. Practically all biographies of C.V. Raman show that he was appointed as the first Palit professor in the newly founded college. But here is one letter from Asutosh Mukherjee to the Viceroy of India, writing, I am hoping to be able to secure Dr. J.C. Bose for the chair of physics. This suggests that the chair was seen for J.C. Bose for physics and for chemistry, P.C. Roy. It seems to me that J.C. Bose declined because he was established his own institute, today known after his name, and that is how C.V. Raman came in that list. Now, C.V. Raman, who was already working at the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Sciences, got professorship at the University of Calcutta. At the University of Calcutta, he wanted to establish a workshop. And for that, he needed mechanics. Here is one letter showing the letter is written by Sir J.C. Bose to the Vice Chancellor of the University of Calcutta, that's Sir C.V. Raman. He sent his two students, that is S.K. Acharya and S.K. Mitra. What they said to the mechanic is that if he will leave this Bose Institute, Presidency College and work in the workshop of the University of Calcutta, he will get a better job, he will get a better money. So Babu here is, and about that, then here the letter shows that J.C. Bose, he protested against this approach in this letter to the Vice Chancellor of the university. Somewhere else, I have explored J.C. Bose's interaction with the German scientific community. And from where I got these letters, I am not going to disclose. So C.V. Raman and his students, S.K. Mitra, there was some theory on the diffraction pattern in the heliometer. This instrument, it was given by one British scientist, Everett. According to S.K. Mitra, this theory is simply too complicated and partially doesn't fit the experimental work. And he worked on this theory and he gave a theory which was simpler than the older one. And also Mitra, he wrote different articles on this topic and they were published in the Philosophical magazine and in the Proceeding of the Indian Association of Cultivation of Science. Based on this work, he submitted his thesis on investigation on the interference and diffraction of light. For that, he got his PhD thesis. Then he got Rashtriyar Bihari Ghosh traveling fellowship, went to France and worked in the laboratory of Charles Fabry and Marie Curie. And there he wrote his second thesis, DSA thesis on the determination of spectroscopic standard wavelength in the short wavelength regions. Just to remind to the audience that S.N. Bose never wrote PhD thesis. This was the same case was for C.V. Raman, but he got honorary degree. And in this case, we see S.K. Mitra was one of the few persons who had two DSc theses. So after doing that work, he shifted to the field of wireless technology. His paper, they were read in the Paris Academy of Sciences. What motivated him to change the field? It seems to me that it was more due to his previous teachers, J.C. Bose, and also he realized the importance of this field in the case of military purposes. Here, Ghosh and Ghosh tell us that from there, Mitra wrote a letter to the Vice Chancellor of the university and told about his scheme to establish this field at the University of Calcutta. After returning back, indeed, he established a wireless laboratory and with his student Rakshit, or his student actually, they did radio field strength measurement in the case of Calcutta, and they were published in a journal. And to take such data, long data, Rakshit traveled 1,000 miles. And similar studies was done in Dhaka, not by S.K. Mitra and student, but by Kastri. This we will see next time. Okay, the study of atmospheric is closely related to the radio technology. Today we know very well how is the structure of the ionosphere at daytime and at night time. I'm quite sure if you will ask in Indian circles who discovered the D layer, I'm sure not many knows that it was discovered by S.K. Mitra and Syam in Kolkata. Also, Mitra gave the explanation for the origin of the E layer. Now, the next point, another achievement from Mitra and his school was to explain the night sky luminescence with the help of a theory or active nitrogen theory. For that, two of his students, that is Ghosh, he made observation of the air glow emission and intensity variation at day and night. The second student, S.S. Bera, he measured the electron density of the F region. From these measurements, they noticed that on some nights, the two variations appear to follow a trend. This supported the hypothesis that night glow emission could also be a product of ionization of the atmospheric constituent and subsequent recombination. Based on such, okay, now that this phenomena after glow, it was already known in the 19th century, and it was observed in the case of Geissler tubes. The effect was like this: when you shut off or turn off the electricity, but still there was some sort of after glowing. To explain this effect, in the beginning of the 20th century, Lord Rayleigh and some other people, they gave the theories, and he introduced the term active nitrogen, Lord Rayleigh. It seems to me that S.K. Mitra was not aware of such theories, and he gave his own theory. His ideas he gave in the form of some lectures, which were published by the Indian Association for the Cultivation of Sciences. And Mitra's other contribution is that he wrote one book, The Upper Atmosphere. Now, as the author A.P. Mitra shows us, he sent this manuscript to an American journal, a publisher, not journal, and they refused to publish this. Said, "Oh, okay, nobody's going to buy this book. They're going on financial loss," so they did not publish. But then it was done by the Asiatic Society due to connection of M.N. Saha, and it was well sold. The second time it was after 5 years, there was the second edition. Now, credit goes to S.K. Mitra for establishing the Institute of Radio Physics and Electronics in 1949 at the University of Calcutta, and he was also the chairman of the Radio Research Committee. Fellowship of the Royal Society of London for most of the scientists, at least from the so-called previous colonial system. If you do not get the Nobel Prize, the Fellowship of the Royal Society of London is the next big shot. And that was achieved by S.K. Mitra. Here we see a part of the nomination letter or document or certificate that here Meghnad Saha was the person who proposed Mitra for the fellowship, and another Indian, S.S. Bhattacharya, he also supported the case. And here is a part of the nomination. You need not to read. It shows simply that he was nominated for founding this research group in India, and also for the discovery of the D layer, then about his work on the nature of active nitrogen. Here, another document shows that first time he was nominated in 1945. According to the rules, the certificate, it remains valid for 5 years. Now, 1949, he was now nominated. This suggests that the nomination was again done in the beginning of the 1950s or in the middle of the 50s. And other story, interesting story of S.K. Mitra life is in the case of Nobel Prize nomination. The first time in 1929, 2 Indians, they were asked to send proposal for the Physics Nobel Prize. And here we see from the letter, D.M. Bose and S.K. Mitra in a joint letter, they nominated Meghnad Saha. Mitra nominated first time jointly with Bose, then alone in 1939, again 1954, 55. He also wrote letters to American scientists and British that they should support Saha's case. In case of Black, in that case, Blackett, he wrote, say, yes, it is better if Indian, they nominate him, but I will try to think about him in the future, but in future it never happened. Now, what is left from S.K. Mitra is, if you go to the University of Calcutta, you will still find that there is called Sir Mitra Bhavan, and here is again about the foundation of the school by him. So that means there is still something in the university which tells about us, about S.K. Mitra. It is not the case in the life of Vidhu Bhushan Ray. Vidhu Bhushan Ray, he came from a poor family. Like Mitra, his father also died when Ray was quite young. So mother, she has no any job. He was supported by his uncles so that he could study. He did his intermediate, then PSc from the Presidency College and MSc from the University of Calcutta. He had the chance to go for Bengal civil services, but due to the motivation by Sir Asutosh Mukherjee, he decided to go for research work. And some of the details about his life by S.K. Mitra and other scientists who started their research career at the academic career at the Calcutta University, we have explored in this book written by us. And in that you will see that C.V. Raman took B.V. as College Fellow. Then he asked the university to increase his salary from 50 to 100 because he has done wonderful work in the field of optical analog of the whispering gallery effect and convection of the radiation of heat. Mitra, he gave a theory to explain the calories that he told it is due to the two effect or two ways. Now, one by reflection from the front surface of the droplets, and second by two reflections and one internal reflection. These details they are explored in this article, and the importance of this theory is that even in scientific America, it is written that the theory given by Baby Ray explains some of the effects even today. No, based on his work on the light scattering in liquid droplets, theory of corona glories, and iridescent cloud, he was given the doctorate degree, and the work it was evaluated by Simpson, Nicholson, and Barton. On that base, he got his PhD, and after that, he got Palit Foreign Research Fellowship, about 5,000 rupees per month, and it was given for 2 years. On the one hand, it made possible for him to go abroad, get study, but at the same time, it was disadvantage for him. This we will see later. Now, international connections. There are some letters showing that first C.V. Raman, he wrote letter to Bohr, and then he also asked Bohr Ray to write letter to Bohr for study in his institute. Before I proceed further, if it is written in some smaller text, it is only for me, only for the resources, so you don't need to read it. Now, on the one hand, Bohr, he agreed to take him as a student for higher study, but he also informed that he's going to United States for some time, so it will be better if with Bhushan Ray, he goes to Uppsala in Sweden and work under Magnus Siegman. That is what was done by Ray. And there, in the laboratory of Siegman, he started his work on the X-ray spectroscopy. And with that work, they proved that the first publication, they proved that the prediction of some irregularity as given by the Bohr theory, it is correct. And here are the results proving that Bohr's theory. Now this letter shows Bhushan Ray, he was eager to go to Baby Ray's Bohr's laboratory, but Bohr suggested him to work peacefully in a laboratory of Magnus Siegman, and he can come anytime, whenever he wants. The work done by Bhushan Ray here, according to one scientist, he gave credit to Bhushan Ray for observing some effect of the chemical environment in the case of X-ray emission, some sort of discovery. And if you get the chance to go to Bohr Institute, you can find the document, you are allowed to see the document showing which people visited the Bohr Institute at which year, in case from the very beginning, that is from 1922, and here we see Bhushan in 1925. Now the record also shows that he was there in 1924-25, and then again, the record seems to be not quite correct. It should be 1926 here. and then 1934-35. And here is one rare photograph, Neil Bohr with Yoshio Nishima from Japan, and here young Vidubhushan Ray. Nishima, he became quite popular after his return to his country. Today he is known as the founder of the modern physics in Japan. After returning back, Vidubhushan Ray had communication with Samuel Goudsmit, one of the person who proposed the concept of the electron spin. With Goudsmit or with Samuel Vidubhushan Ray, he has many communication. He wrote many letters, starting from the private life and in general life. The authority have not yet given me a room, and I do not know when shall I get in. In any case, I shall have to wait. The reason was that there was some room, but Upendranath Brahmachari, the discoverer of the medicine for the Kala Azar, he had occupied 1 or 2 rooms there. And C.V. Raman, in a meeting, he protested. He said it cannot be true that his own student or his previous student is not getting a room. And Sir Upendranath Brahmachari is not even a faculty member. He's getting this room. So this how then C.V. Raman, he argued. Ray also wrote about his health problem, about the health of his own mother, that he spent all money what he's earning on his disease. So there was some communication on this level. Another lesser known fact is that it was Vidubhushan Ray who tried to establish contact between Meghnad Saha, S.N. Bose, and Neil Bohr. Here is one letter from Ray to Bohr, writing him, I spoke about Professor Bose, my teacher. At present, he's working with Albert Einstein. He asked me to write to you whether he can visit you, which time it will suit you. He will be glad to meet you and grandmas. Another letter, Ray to Bohr, again writing about Professor S.N. Bose, who is in New York. He wants me to write to you and to ask whether he can stay in Copenhagen for 2 months. Then here is one photograph from young Meghnad Saha. It is written here IEP. It has nothing to do with my lecture, but still I want to just point out about the document on the Indian scientists, how they are being used or misused abroad. About this photograph and another photograph, once I wrote one short article in Current Science to show that some of the documents which belong to India, which belong to Indians, they are elsewhere and they are being taken their own property. Okay, next. The Nobel Prize and the role of Vidubhushan Ray. After getting the Nobel Prize, the European media, they extensively reported about C.V. Raman. This I explored in one of the articles. Now about C.V. Raman and Nobel Prize and Vidubhushan Ray. According to the published literature, the well-known book Journey into Light by G. Venkataraman, there it is quoted, S. Ramasheshan, that is well-known Indian scientist, C.V. Raman's nephew, later also director of the Indian Institute of Sciences, I believe. And it is written, it is now a historical fact, however, that Raman had booked 2 tickets for himself and his wife in July 1930, that year, to enable him to reach Stockholm in early December. So So there is no reference how Ramaseshan came to know, whether it's C.V. Raman told him, but how Raman came to know that he's going to get the Nobel Prize. Again, another student of S. Bhagavantam, he wrote, or he tells, 2 months before he knew he was awarded the Nobel Prize, he had the feeling or oddity getting 2 steamer passages or 2 tickets for him and his wife. So that not only did he take such a step, but went further and declared publicly that he did so for both interesting facts of his life. So there are no references. Neither even S. Bhagavantam is not telling from where he got the information about such a statement, at least not written documents. Again, in the same book about the Nobel Prize, G. Venkatraman writes, it is learned that in 1929, a letter was received by the Nobel Committee from the Calcutta University in response to the SU's invitation circulated to make nominations. The nominee was not Raman, but someone else hardly heard of. A strong statement. Once we wrote one article, Singh and Rees, on Meghnad Saha and the Nobel Prize for the year 1930. It was published in the Indian Journal of History of Science. After the publication of this article, Santimay Chatterjee, Meghnad Saha's student, and later also the editor of Science and Culture, he reacted immediately that it is really very insulting to call Meghnad Saha as hardly heard of scientist. Okay. Now the question is how Ram came to know. Did he got some information? According to my opinion, yes. The document of the Royal Swedish Academy shows, for example, there is a big report of 8 pages written by the expert of the Nobel Committee on Raman's work. It is a normal process that whenever somebody is nominated, those which are considered as the candidate who might get the Nobel Prize, the reports are written on this work. It is in the long report. He has shown the impact of Raman's work, and he also argues why the Russian scientist who has discovered the same effect nearly at the same time, they should not get the Nobel Prize. Why Raman deserve it. And here we see that report is signed on 26th May 1930. And Eric Holten, he's student of Mane Siegban. And he's also the member of the Nobel Committee, Eric Holten, Mane Siegban, Carl Osin, with whom Raman also communicated. Now I pretend that the information leaked out. Now, when I met the relatives of Vidubhushan Ray's nephews, and they told me, Mane Siegban, he wrote one letter to Vidubhushan Ray, just telling that Sir C.V. Raman, he will be soon among us. Then I wanted to know, okay, where is the letter which was sent to your uncle Vidubhushan Ray? They said, we don't have this letter because Vidubhushan Ray, he went to his teacher C.V. Raman and showed him that letter. And C.V. Raman, he kept that letter, he never returned. So the question is where this letter is. According to my opinion, most of the communication, Raman's letter, plus his diaries, they are with the family of S. Ramaseshan. So that is the story about the documents. As far as the scientific work of Bhushan Ray is concerned, it took very long till he was able to establish a laboratory there. In the end, he observed some lines. In the case of carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, he wrote short letter or short article for Nature. After publication of this article, there was criticism from USA and within Europe because the scientists, they were not able to observe these lines. And Bhushan Ray, he was not able to explain because he was not a theoretical physicist. For that, he wrote one letter to Neil Bohr and sent these spectra to get his help whether he can explain. But it seems to me that he never reacted. And this art, once then I explained the story in one of the articles. Who explained the effect? This was again the German physicist Arnold Sommerfeld. He gave the theory. He showed that Ray is not saying that he's observing the Raman effect. He has observed some absorption lines in X-rays, and he showed with this theory, yes, what Ray observed is correct. The others, they are not able to observe because their experimental condition, they were not correct. So Arnold Sommerfeld is one of the persons from Germany. He always supported Indian scientists. This I explored some years ago in a short article in Current Science. Bhushan Ray's contribution, if not big scientific work, is to establish an X-ray laboratory at the University of Calcutta. As he expired very young at the age of 50 in 1944, then S.N. Bose, he came to Calcutta from Dhaka and he took over this laboratory and continued work. So the relation between C.V. Raman, Meghnad Saha, Bhushan Ray, it is a complicated story. This I once explained in a short article, Science and Culture. Now, Bhushan Ray, I said before, he has got fellowship. He had to sign the paper that after turning back, he will work at least 5 years. Now, what happened? He get a better position at the University of Dhaka, much better paid, but he's not allowed to leave. C.V. Raman, he argued in his favor in the committee that they should give me at least some increment. But poor Bhushan Ray, he didn't get. He was not allowed to leave and gets better position. Also, it was told to me by family member that even on private level, C.V. Raman helped financially at the time of Bhushan Ray's sister. No, again, it has been written by G. Venkataraman, the conflict between Raman and Meghnad Saha. According to Venkataraman, it was a question of chair, the Mahendralal Sarkar chair, which was established by C.V. Raman. And in contrast, then Santimay Chatterjee, he argues rightly, it cannot be true because Meghnad Saha, he had better position in Allahabad. Why he should be interested in this chair, which is not of the same status, which is even less paid. But both of the historians, they have not seen what is the real connection. The real connection is the Bhushan Ray. Here we have a letter written by Meghnad Saha to P.C. Ray. It is clearly written there that Raman, he would like to appoint a Madrasi to the job. Vidhu knows this man. Can you not put some pressure or the influence on this person? This person, according to my opinion, was K.S. Krishnan, who later got this position. In the same letter, Raman tells me that he wants to get Bidu Bhushan Ray to point for the chair, but one cannot trust him. Anyhow, if Bidu Bhushan Ray is appointed, I will welcome. So the next sentence, which is still not clear to me what Saha wants to say. We too can work in the association in perfectly amenity and for the benefit of each other. Does it mean that Saha had in mind to come to Kolkata to take the Palit chair, which was given to DM Bose after C.V. Raman left? So it is not, because I don't see any interesting point why Meghnad Saha he want to have position at the Indian Association. So then we find again in the letter, I have detailed out a plan for campaign to Bidu. He should go on with it reluctantly. Please show him this letter. This will grace him up. I hope you won't rest until the association comes back to Bengal. So what does it mean? Which plan is talking about Meghnad Saha? It seems there were some letters which were published in the local newspapers, and they were always unnamed. The author was not given. So it seems to me that the letters, they were written by Bidu Bhushan. And Raman, he protested. He wrote one letter to the editor of the local newspaper that it is against the moral duty of the editor to publish some letters. Then one of the Raman students, Sethi, he also published a long letter, because in the letter it was criticized that due to Raman stay, the Bengali, they have not got much profit out of it, in spite of giving so much facilities. The author of the letter then argued in favor of Raman. He published a list of 20 persons who had worked under Raman and who were Bengali, and they had high positions. Now, Science and Culture Journal, initiated by Meghnad Saha, and here we see Bidu Bhushan Ray. He was one of the first 3 editors, but after 1 year, he resigned with the argument that due to health problem, he's resigning. So now the question is how it comes. Meghnad Saha is using or misusing him for own interest. On the one hand, we see that C.V. Raman did his best to promote Bidu Bhushan Ray. According to my opinion, Bidu Bhushan Ray, he is from a poor family, ill health, improper treatment from the authorities, scientific controversies. In the end, who is supporting him? It is Meghnad Saha who gave him hopes. But that seems to be the reason that Bidu Bhushan Ray tried to follow Meghnad Saha. Now the question is, it is morally correct? No or yes or no? The question is simple. For me, the answer is very simple. Anybody who is in such a position, he will have done, if not same as Bidu Bhushan Ray. For me, it is morally correct what he did. He had no other choice. Meghnad Saha, he tried his best after the Bidu Bhushan Ray retired. He tried to manage some memorial lectures. Then there was a photograph painted or showing Bidu Bhushan Ray. With that time, that photograph disappeared from the University of Calcutta, and also Bidu Bhushan Ray memorial lectures, they were never continued. Private life, though from a poor family, yet he was married to Asha Lata, daughter of N.K. Singh, who was the Vice Chancellor of the Delhi University, if I'm not mistaken. And here a wonderful letter from the great poet to N.K. Singh. I was rather unwell when your daughter's wedding card came. I could not send my blessing. Kindly excuse me. I shall be glad if the newly met couple can visit me. Then I shall bless them. And his wife, she was a good musician. Here you see the daughter, the only child. When I was writing biography of Bidhu Bhushan Ray, she wrote me, "Oh, I hope I will live long to see the biography." I said, I will try my best that the biography is published during your lifetime. And we managed. Now the political connections, just a few sentences. Bidhu Bhushan Ray, he wrote one letter to Neil Bohr in 1930. First he said, the political situation in India is not very good. More than 50,000 people are now in jail. My house was searched and my younger brother and two cousins were arrested. But they were released after 1.5 months. The question is, why was Bidhu Bhushan Ray was not arrested? The answer is very simple. In this letter from Ray to Nishina, 1928, you know, I was once interested in politics. And I did a little bit when I came back here. But I have found out that the politicians are, as a rule, scoundrels. And I have given it up as hopeless and have returned to my laboratory only to find it also a horrible mess. So that means he stopped working with the politics. According to information, oral information from Ray's nephews, that it was due to Bidhu Bhushan connections with Werner Heisenberg, the great historian, a physicist, that he means Werner Heisenberg, he managed a meeting between Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Adolf Hitler. Interesting story. Perhaps those who have money, time, they can work on it. I had no time, but what I know for sure is there is at least one letter from Heisenberg to Bidhu Bhushan Ray. There he says the question was, the reason was because Bidhu Bhushan Ray's younger brother, he was in Munich. He wanted to study their medicine. So there he was seeking some help. And in the letter, when Heisenberg said, okay, perhaps he should connect Erwin Schrödinger. So it is of this letter. That's what I want to say is I have no letter, no documentation which prove that Bidhu Bhushan Ray was the connecting person between Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose and Adolf Hitler. Now, what we can learn from the lives of Mitra, Bidhu Bhushan Ray, I have stopped writing on the conclusions because in the end, everybody has to decide him or for herself. He has to learn the lesson from my lecture because I don't know what the other expect from me when I give a talk. Acknowledgement, there are documents I have acknowledged at every place. There are a number of archives from which I got the documents, either I went personally or they sent me. Then I'm thankful to the people at TIFR, also Professor Arun Grover, who was earlier at the TIFR and later in Chandigarh. And most of the document, or practically all private document on Bidhu Bhushan Ray, they were sent to me by Devabrata Ray and Mr. Subabrata Roy, who were a retired person. Then, as I said in the beginning, I earn my money elsewhere in a school. I do my research work at the University of Oldenburg. And I'm quite sure there are not many universities in India who will ever give a possibility to somebody to do research work without asking for any for that. So here is my boss, Shalkomar, my previous boss, our other research group. So they have finished their PhD. Now they're working in a school. She comes from a school. She did her PhD later. And here's another colleague of mine. She's also doing her PhD and working in a primary school. So that is how the German system works. And I'm thankful to my members for helping. And last but not least, I am also thankful to my family members or my daughters, my son and my wife. And thank you very much. If you have any question, critical question you don't want to ask here, you are most welcome to send me email. If you need any article from me, please feel free to ask me. And if there is time left, I would like to say that the scientists should not believe that they are not being watched by persons from abroad. Thank you very much again.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you for the lecture and giving us a little bit of a historical background on two of the important scientists. I think I'll open the floor for discussions and comments as well as questions if there are any. I know there are many people who have joined who have interest in this subject. So I would request any of the members. Yes, Vivek.
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes. Yeah, Dr. Singh, can you hear?
Yeah, I can. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
Okay, my question relates to the second last slide that you showed. You just flashed it. What was that about? You said something about CIA is watching or something.
Okay.
What is that? I didn't have time to go through it. Okay.
Yeah, I can read it for you.
Yeah.
So it is a document dated 1965, written by the ambassador of USSR and ambassador from the USA. So it is question. I said the American rights. Yeah. I said yes, but you know Bhapa. He said yes, we know him very well. I said then you know he is pressing for Indian nuclear development. He said yes, but he's not the government. He took refuge in saying that this was a matter that our good friend Foster and that would be talking about. The problem is only this document is because they do not allow you to read too much. They are just blackened. So only some of part. That means what I want to say, this is one story. The other stories here, I have one, this I was produced in Indian Journal of History of Science. It is about C.V. Raman, that he delivered one lecture that is here, is written here, 1965. And here we see that this document, it was sent to the CIA. That means the American embassies in India, they are taking care of the fact which scientist is doing which work, and this information, as these letters show, they are being given further. This I want to say. So if you have time, you can also go to a document, but it is not much helpful. So I think this is one of the points. One should be very careful. One should take time to go to America, and there are some documents which are allowed for the historian to see, and there we can find some interesting story.
Okay.
Thank you. Alak, you have a question? Professor Alak Ray?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Singh, for this very interesting presentation. You mentioned about a letter which was published unsigned in a in a Calcutta newspaper. And you seem to ascribe this to Professor Vidubhushan Rai. But what is the evidence for it? And, could you say a little bit more about the letter itself?
The letter, I think I can send is a cutting of the newspapers. In the newspaper cutting, it was written there that during Raman time, the Bengali, they have not got much profit out of it. And also in Raman's letter, he simply hints there is something, and in Raman's letter, which he sent the newspaper, Raman wrote, if I would have not taken the South Indians, I'm just going to formulate because I don't have an article now, that if I would have taken the Bengalis, the Nobel Prize would have never came to India. That was something very insulting to tell that without South Indian, he would have never got, and if you have taken only the Bengali, they would have Nobel Prize there. So there are newspaper cuttings, yes, but it's also, which if you want, I can send you the newspaper cuttings. I possess these documents. Or if you go to the Raman Research Institute, you may find out there.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Singh. Any other questions or comments? Okay. If there are none, I would like to thank Dr. Singh for.
Can I say something?
Yes, Dr. Roy. Yes, please.
See, about this Subhash Chandra Bose, this whatever Dr. Singh expressed, it is true. I am actually his nephew, one of his nephews.
Yeah.
So Subhash
Nice to see
Chandra Bose,
you.
when he left this Mahaprasthan, he came to Bibi Ray's house and took some document. And whatever my father told me, that it is the kind of thing referred to what you call your Heisenberg. I am having one letter of personal letter of Heisenberg with me, and my elder brother is also having. Now, in that letter, Heisenberg was inquiring actually about the Indian political situation.
Okay.
And once Heisenberg came to India, where D.M. Bose and my uncle actually took him to Rabindranath Tagore. But reason for his visit was who invited him, how he came, and all that is not yet clear.
Okay.
So this is the connections, and Bose actually, my grandfather was in Cuttack. My grandfather was actually their house physician. So in Cuttack, these Vidubhushan Ray and Subhash Bose was studying in Ravinsha College. This thing. And they are actually 1 year senior probably, or they were classmates. And Bose and Ray connections were very deep. So many Bose researchers, they do not know about it. And I heard from my father and my uncle's side also, that when Bose left for Germany, that time actually B.B. Ray did his what do you call your astrological this thing papers, and he's given to this thing Subhash Bose. And C.V. Raman and Bose, B.B. Ray, both was a strong believer in astrology. Many people do not know that. One department in Calcutta University was there where those days astrology was being studied. So that is the kind of this thing. And BB Ray, another side of the BB Ray, Dr. Singh, of course, I have not given any hint to him. The BB Ray helped many students financially. And he used to give money for poor people, like poor students. So most of, and unfortunately, he became a little bit, after 32 years, he got heart disease and all sorts of coming from the Germany. He got all these problems, first malaria, then then heart problems, and he could not recover. He had a bright future, of course, but unfortunately, he ends up there itself. These are the small informations, whatever I have, I want to share with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Heisenberg, the visit, when he came back, he didn't tell much about the visit. He wrote just one small letter to Niels Bohr. He was fascinated because he want to go in to see Himalaya or something like this. Only that he wrote. Actually, he didn't wrote much about his visit.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Thank you very much for coming over and sharing these stories. On the behalf of Dr. Satyanarayana, I would like to sort of thank you again and mention that hopefully we will hear some more stories from you at a later time. So
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. I'll close the meeting.